What's the worst customer service you've ever experienced? Couple Christmases ago, I ordered those personalized M&Ms with photos on them. Shortly after ordering, I received an email saying there was a problem with my order. The photo I wanted to use had too many faces in it, so I needed to call X customer service number. So I called, and I waited. 1 hour and 52 minutes later, a woman told me I could just reply to that email with a picture with only 2 faces in it. Geez, they couldn't have said that in the email. So I replied with the new picture, no problem. 6 days later I get an automated voicemail message saying there was a problem with my M&M order, and please call this number. So I called, and I waited 2.5 hours for them to tell me there was no problem at all and my order had been shipped. Thanks, M&Ms. I had an employee at a big box department store grasp my balance assistant's dog's harness, pull her away from me, and demand to know what my disability was because I didn't look like I needed my dog. That was fun. Definitely the worst I've experienced so far. That is illegal and you can sue them. A couple of years ago, when you could still actually talk to a real person through a Bank of America, I called with an odd question that couldn't be handled by the traditional number roulette menu. They had disabled the press 04 operator, which used to be so wonderful. Anyways, so of course I had to go through each new menu with a woman speaking conveniently and comfortingly slow so I don't miss a single word. Next, new menu. Get with someone finally. I'm in the wrong place and need to be transferred. Whatever. Fine. Get a new person. Have to go through all my information before they'll hear my question. In the wrong place. Transferred. Info. Wrong place. Transferred once more. It had been around 20 minutes by this point. Then I hear, "Hi, I'm Susie with Wells Fargo. How may I assist you?" What the frick? TLDR. Called Bank of America. Shuffled between departments and somehow end up transferred to Wells Fargo. I always just Google nonsensical words or repeatedly say live representative till it connects me to someone, even if they don't offer it as an option. I have one. Husband and I were interested in upgrading our iPhones on AT&T. He was up for an upgrade 5 months before me. They won't let me upgrade when he upgrades, and say I have to wait the 5 months. Okay, fine, whatever. Well, when he upgraded, he also opted to change his number because we had moved across the country and he wanted one that would now be local. Because we were on a family plan, AT&T insisted that I also had to change my phone number. There was absolutely no way I could keep my old phone number. Okay, annoying, but whatever. So when the 5 months is up, I go in to upgrade my phone. I'm told, "Oh, you can't upgrade. You've only had an account with us for 5 months." No, I said, "I've had an account with you for 6 years." Nope. Apparently, when they gave us new phone numbers, when I didn't even want mine changed, really, it set us up on a brand new account, erasing our history with the company. WTF. Well, it took talking to multiple CSRs on the phone and some major bitching, but I finally got my new phone. It doesn't help that every time we talked to a new person they told us something completely different and insisted that what the last CSR had told us was totally wrong. I'll give you the story of a racist gas station attendant and my father's revenge. On a long road trip, mom badly needed to pee, so dad pulled into a gas station and mom ran inside asking where the restroom was. The attendant told her around back, so mom hot-footed it outside into the back of the store, only to find the door padlocked. A little ticked off that he didn't say something before, mom went back inside and asked for the key. The attendant told her we can only give the restroom key to store customers. Aching at this point, mom ran out to the car and told dad the situation. He was already pumping some gas and when he was done he paid with a credit card at the pump. "There, now you're a customer." Mom ran back inside and asked the attendant for the key. "I'm sorry, mom, but that man outside paid for the gas, you didn't. Maybe you could buy some tacos? Or burritos? Habla Ingles." My mom is part Native American, but the guy was mistaking her for Mexican. Mom is not a confrontational person. She went back to the car and tearfully told dad she could hold it. Dad asked why she still hadn't gone to the bathroom and raged when he heard what the attendant had said. Dad was 6'9", heavily tattooed, and weighed 400 pounds. The attendant meekly handed over the restroom key. Meanwhile, dad bought a big gulp. Actually, I don't think he ever paid for it and downed it in 3 sips while glaring at the attendant. When mom came out of the restroom, dad told her to sit in the driver's seat and keep the car running. They pulled up to the front door of the gas station and dad stepped outside, unzipped his pants and peed all over the glass and floor mat. Dad loved telling that story. Mom, not so much. Heck, I loved that story too. D. I probably provided some of the worst customer service you've ever had. I used to work for a small ISP, and we provided some absolutely horrific service. Not because I wanted to, although some of my co-workers took pleasure in being C, but because the company was terrible and forced us to screw over the customers. Sounds like you've got crack cutters. I had this happen to my cable a couple times when I lived in a bad area. Basically, freaking C-kids steal accessible cable and use the inner wiring as mesh for their crack pipes. If you think this might be the cause, ask the technician to leave some extra cable around as a decoy. Ours was cut twice within a couple days by our next door neighbor. Freaking junkie B. The second time the guy came to fix it, he left a large extra spool for them to have. Also, the first time the guy came to fix it, he illegally parked in my next door neighbor's driveway, and instead of backing out drove forward into his hydrometer, knocking out our neighbor's power for about a day. When we called the company to let them know, they had no record of the guy even being in the area, although he did provide the service, and since my brother works for the same company, I told him about it. He had a laugh, and later reported to me that the guy had disappeared. Awesome. TLDR, you've got C-kids. This is totally awesome. I live in a nice middle-class neighborhood in a suburb. My theories on the cut cable were either A. Comcast tried to cut off my neighbor and got me instead, or B. It was a Halloween prank by kids. However, I will keep an eye out for C-kids just in case. I just bought a spotlight. Got you, C-kid. Mine's more service in a restaurant related. To start off, I am a server. I can usually tolerate a lot of crappy service, usually giving the benefit of doubt. There was a pizza joint I like to frequent. One day, a friend and I went in and ordered something called nutty bread. Basically gooey Nutella cooked into a folded over pizza dough. We waited for it. I flagged down the waitress and she goes looking for it. She comes striding back with it, drops it on the table without a word, and disappears. We look down to basically this burnt piece of folded up dough with burnt Nutella inside. I try flagging her down. She avoids eye contact. Finally, I get her to come over. I tell her it's way overcooked and inedible. She picks up my fork and starts poking at it, telling me it looks okay to her. Here is how the conversation went. Me. I've had this plenty of times before. Usually it's nice and soft and gooey. This is just overcooked and inedible. Her. Yeah, well, like, the only way I can see it is, it can't be super awesome every time, cause then your expectations will be too high the next time you order it. I burst out laughing. I thought she was joking. I even had her repeat herself, which she did, followed up with, "Did you want me to pack it up for you?" I did. And I am actually pretty good friends with the owner of that place, so I swung by their house to show and tell them about my experience. The scream of "she said what" still resonates in me to this day. Let's just say she didn't have a job by the next day. TLDR. Apparently food can't be super awesome every time, as it gets the customers' hopes up too high for the next time they go in and eat there. My old chef, also owner of the restaurant, had a complaint about a waitress like this when he worked in France. He heard her part of the story, which was completely fabricated, and fired her on the spot. That is how you deal with that kind of crap. Driving a rental car from Enterprise in LA on a work trip. I'm going about 35 and a girl pulls out 10 feet in front of me without looking. I barely had time to touch the brake pedal before I hit her square on the driver's side wheel. But no injuries to anyone, but totally her fault. She got a ticket for it. I make a total 18 phone calls over the space of a couple hours to Enterprise's local office and their national roadside assistance line. They are constantly transferring me but actually hanging up, and the local branch insists they can't do anything and it's roadside assistance's responsibility to help me, and roadside assistance says the same thing about the branch office. They refuse to drop off another car, pick me up, send a cab. They won't do anything. They leave me stranded in a tow yard in a sketchy part of East LA. Luckily the tow truck driver was a nice guy and drove me to my hotel. For the next few months, Enterprise calls and emails me a few times a week trying to get a $1,000 deductible that is the responsibility of the other person's insurance since she was at fault. Every time they contact me, I tell them to collect from her insurance. It's their responsibility. I never pay that deductible. Acting on instructions from my company's travel managers, Enterprise stops bugging me after about 3 months. At about the 5-month mark, Enterprise asks me for a refund on a reimbursement check that they said they sent to me to repay the deductible I never actually paid. At that point, I turned the whole thing over to my company's finance, travel and legal departments, and I never hear anything more from Enterprise. TD. Enterprise car rental. Never again. Would rather walk everywhere. Recently I moved into a new apartment and wanted to transfer my internet service. It was still hooked up at the apartment my ex lived in. When I asked them to move it, they said they were overloaded and couldn't. I said, okay, if you're overloaded, can I get reduced speed? I really like their service compared to the other company, and I wanted to keep being a customer. They refused and cited their policy that they couldn't move or change anyone's plan. So I took the battle higher, to a manager, who told me the same thing. I said, come on, I'm a good reliable customer. I'm not asking for more, I'm asking for the same or less. Then I went higher up the ladder to the manager above her, and she told me the same thing. So I said, fine, you don't want to have me as a customer anymore. I'll go to your competition. I went to the other company, they gave me great service, and I got my internet hooked up that same day. The funny part is, someone higher on the ladder read the emails about my requesting to move my service and took action to fix the problem weeks later. They called me back and apologized 2 weeks later, trying to get me to come back. I said, sorry, too little too late. I already have the other service hooked up and they didn't dong around. I love hearing these stories when you're sure the ones in the wrong got their just desserts for being dongs. Good job, D. Comcast is unfreaking believable. I had a very similar experience, except instead of my service being cut off entirely, it would go down for anywhere from 30 seconds to 30 minutes every single night. 30 seconds isn't a huge deal, unless you're using your internet to, say, stream a movie or play a game online, in which case Comcast's motto is frick you, I guess. The longer outages obviously caused even more problems, but what could we do? Anyway, I work in politics, which essentially means I have to be on the clock 24 hours a day. Well, they chose the night of the biggest primary of the cycle to shut down service for 4 hours for unplanned maintenance. I don't drive, and the only other person capable of doing also had his internet shut off for the same reason. 3 hours on the phone with Comcast, got absolutely nowhere. Demanded to speak with a manager about a refund and got put on hold for over 45 minutes, after which they just hung up on me. Best part, their maintenance didn't even fix the original connectivity problems. God, I am so glad to be done with that freaking company. Oh yes, Comcast. My family recently switched to Comcast after I had just moved back in, so my room was a bit of a mess with boxes and such all over. I made sure to make some space where the old cable lines were, thinking that's where the new ones went. Nope. He had to move some boxes, broke my shoe rack, talked crap about how much stuff I had in the room, and talked crap about my room causing problems with the service. Then he started talking crap about my family. Is that your mom down there? Well, she waited until we were almost about to leave to tell us that the phone isn't connected. I can't believe that. Ugh. I once left a book on the city bus and went to the main bus terminal to claim it from the lost and found. The lady asked me to describe the book, and I gave her the title and author and said it was a light grey paperback. She found it and immediately pointed out to me in a very condescending tone that it was white, not light grey. All she really needed was the title. Whatever, they found my book. She then asked my name because I guess they keep records of that sort of thing. I told her, spelling out my last name. I have a long and uncommon last name that I always spell out to people on the phone, etc. She gives me this really snarky look and says, "Oh, good for you. You can spell your name." I was so taken aback by her over-the-top rudeness that I said nothing, simply took my book and walked away. WTF. I have a last name that is misspelled almost constantly, and I always spell it out. If someone said that to me, I would have thrown the book at their head. I don't know if this counts as customer service, but my husband had an old Hotmail account he used for an important email. It got hacked and he contacted Hotmail to see if they could get it all fixed up. They said, sure, for $150 to fix a Hotmail account. Sorry, I have a stitch in my side from laughing at them. I'm surprised you could even call them. I think if you get locked out of Gmail and don't have any sort of backup password recovery thing, you are fricked. My best friend, my sister and I walked into a restaurant in a small Iowa town that unbeknownst to us was apparently only for locals. Every single person in the place, including the bartender and waitress, stared us down silently until we left uncomfortably. We were just three 20-something white girls dressed normally and acting friendly. It was one of the most surreal experiences of my life. Not me, but my older sister. She was 20 years old, in college thousands of miles away, when she found out her very close friend died. She and a friend bought plane tickets from Delta so they could fly home and attend the funeral. At the gate, after checking in and going through security and everything, the plane began boarding. They called by sections to board, and my sister and her friend were in the last one. At the last minute, an employee told them they were booted from the flight because they were overbooked. At this point, my hysterical 20-year-old sister and her friend are sobbing over the fact that they might not be home for their best friend's funeral. The employee isn't helpful at all, just causing them more grief and panic. In a state of panic, my sister rushes over to the door to the terminal or whatever and tries to open it, insisting they can still get on the plane. She can still see it out the window. It's there. Airport security comes to escort them away. My sister calls my mother, who calls the next airline that has a flight, Southwest. They are completely helpful and nice, insist on finding the, still hysterical, girls and helping them get to the plane as soon as possible, and letting them choose their seats when they got on the plane. Expensive, but great service. TLDR. Delta overbooks and kicks my 20-year-old sister and friend going to a friend's funeral off a flight. Doesn't offer any refunds and next flight is too late for funeral. Southwest saves the day. I love Southwest. I won't fly with anyone else. I have never had an issue with Southwest. I loathe Comcast. I had the triple play deal a while back. After 6 months or so the service went up to over $150 a month. I was paying close to $160 at one point without premium channels or anything. When I called to ask why my bill seemed to steadily go up every month, the woman on the phone said this line of bulls that didn't make any sense whatsoever and I'm fairly sure was intended to just confuse people. She went off on some tangent about variable service intervals, taxing, fees, etc. I asked something like, if it's just variable, why does it never go down, only up? She again said her spiel. So I decided to cancel home phone since I didn't need it, but the bill would still be close to $140 for 2 services. I ended up getting rid of cable altogether since I was freaking sick of all the programming anyway and now I just watch Hulu and Netflix. I still pay some $65 for internet that shuts off for a brief interval at least twice a day. I loathe Comcast. Hate. They have monopoly power. Good or bad service, they'll get $$, no matter what. Suckers. Ad 1. I'm trying to get my reimbursement check from the insurance company and every CSR tells me something different. It's been about 2 months and still no check. I don't understand why it's so hard to give me my goddamn money back. The worst experience I have ever had at a restaurant happened a few weeks ago at my local Wendy's. My fiance and I ordered the Dave Burger combo and a spicy chicken combo with no tomatoes because she is allergic to them. My Dave Burger came with no toppings at all and her chicken burger came with tomatoes and nothing else. We checked the receipt and all the items were rung up as ordered, so went up to the counter to have our orders fixed. When we did, the person making the sandwiches had a fit and argued with us that both our burgers were made correctly and were supposed to come with no toppings. Things escalated when the sandwich person, I assume in an effort to shame my GF, made my fiance take the burger apart to be inspected by everyone working and the people in line behind us. This obviously backfired and we got our new food and left. We called corporate from the parking lot and they tossed some free stuff our way, but we haven't been back to Wendy's since and probably never will go back. Alienware. In 2003 when I was in high school, my dad got me an expensive Alienware laptop as a present because I had just been diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease, cancer, and we had to temporarily move to the United States from Taiwan so I could receive treatment, luckily covered by insurance, so my dad figured I deserved the treat. Fast forward about a year, we are back home in Taiwan, the cancer is in remission after several months of treatment, and the laptop has mysteriously died on me. It literally just stopped turning on. Not sure if it was a battery issue or anything. We were not very tech savvy at the time. Now, knowing how expensive this laptop was, if I remember right I was upwards of 3 or 4k. I kept exceptionally good care of it so I honestly don't know what happened. Since I am due at the clinic in California for a medical checkup, we fly into the United States and my dad figures he can call Alienware while we're there to get my laptop serviced. My dad gets on the phone with Alienware, and they ask him to do a series of diagnostic tasks that involve turning the computer on. When he tells Alienware that the computer is literally dead, it won't turn on. Alienware says they can't help us cause we can't complete whatever diagnostic test they wanted to run. I can't recall the details anymore as it was a long time ago, but I still remember it was one of the first times I'd ever seen my dad red-faced and shouting at a phone. Basically the customer service rep flat out refused to help us. It was important to get it fixed serviced as soon as possible because we weren't going to be in the country long, only a few days, and plane tickets were expensive. When we got home to Taiwan I got the laptop fixed for a couple $100 NT at an electronics market. I guess that's where we should have gone in the first place. I still don't remember what was wrong with it, but I didn't really care at that point. What peed me off the most about the whole affair was that at the time Alienware boasted 100% customer service satisfaction on their website. Yeah, freaking right, Alienware. TLDR. Alienware laptop breaks and customer service refuses to help us fix it or service it. Worst I've experienced is from a 76 service station in Fullerton. My girlfriend had a flat, and this was one of the nearest stations so she brought it in. She spoke with a technician, squared a price away and went home. Next morning she received a phone call from their manager who informs her the price they gave was off substantially, and if she wanted the repair done she would have to pay extra. I called up and spoke to a really rude manager. I'll admit I got upset speaking to him, but for a manager to curse a customer out on the phone, crap was said, is absolutely unacceptable. Told him to not make the repair and that my GF would take her business elsewhere. In the US many states have a limit to how much above the estimate they can charge you. It mainly applies if the estimate is in writing, but that should be done anyways. I rented an apartment in college through a nice landlord, but they got bought out by another midway through my lease. After that, everything went to crap. The utilities doubled. Hot water would go in and out, and they would lose our paperwork and say we didn't pay, were late on a payment. So on the coldest days of the winter, our heat tapped out. It just didn't work at all. We were a part of a 6-unit apartment complex and all the others were fine. So we called to have maintenance look into it, but they couldn't send anyone because they didn't have a key. Why they wouldn't have a key is beyond me, but I came back home from class to find a space heater plugged in and turned on in our living room. Shortly after, my roommate came in to say there was one left outside the door. When I explained that I came home to the first already plugged in, she got confused since apparently they didn't have a key. When she called to ask them about it, they called me a liar and there was no way anyone got into the apartment. When the maintenance men finally came 3 days later, one mentioned leaving the space heater for us. I asked him how he got in and it turns out he had the key the entire time, but the landlord didn't send them out until that 3rd day. I was beyond livid. I hardly ever complain, but I was in near tears from frustration when I talked to the woman in the office about everything that had gone on. She didn't give any straight answers, and after I called her out on all the bulls that had been going on, all she said was, "I'm sorry, I just don't see why you're upset." I told her to spend a few heatless nights in my apartment and ask me again why I'm upset. They never gave us problems through the rest of our lease. You can actually sue for that. She's required by law to have heat, and if she could have fixed it and didn't, then she's liable. I did a summer abroad in Poland. All of Polish retail. Seriously, I had a wonderful time, but the concept of making a customer feel welcome was non-existent. We have been Dish Network customers for at least 10 years now, and our very next door neighbor would not shut up about how awesome DirecTV was. We called up DirecTV to take advantage of their Sign-Up specials, etc. Spent over an hour on the phone getting everything set up and a time to have the technician come out and install. The day arrived. I had taken time off of work so that I would be there during the 6-hour window that they give you. He was right on time. He walked around the house for less than 2 minutes, came inside and said, "You can't have DirecTV. Your trees are in the way." We showed him the neighbor's satellite dish, which was literally 4 feet from our house, exactly where we wanted it. He still said no and did not use any special equipment. He came inside and asked to use the restroom. That technician took a 45-minute dump and left. I thought I was going to need to burn the house. Just last week, I was having problems with my Sprint service, no service, extremely slow service, and paying for 4G. The person literally on the other end said, "Well, there are kindergartners nowadays that have them cell phones and it is stressing the network, so hang in there." I fired Sprint immediately and went with Verizon. In my opinion, companies just aren't trying very hard to retain our business, and customer service everywhere is lacking. Rogers, the Comcast of Canada. For about a month there was an issue with their systems where large downloads would become corrupted. Downloads from Apple, Microsoft, Steam, anything over around 200 megabytes would have single bit errors. I called in, we went through the usual call tree. "Have you tried resetting your modem?" "Yes. I see your Wi-Fi is turned off." "I will turn it on. I'm connected over Ethernet." "That crap. No luck." So the next guess was that the modem had died. Exchanged the modem. No luck. Perhaps somehow the servers had bad files? Nope. Files downloaded fine at a friend's or at work. Perhaps it was the specific computer? Nope. 2 different computers. 3 different operating systems. Relayed this information to Rogers, and the reply was simply, "So? What do you want us to do about it?" "I want you to fix my dang internet. You chucklefucks. But you say you can connect to the internet." "Yes, but downloads get corrupted. We've replaced everything from me to the server at this point. The only common denominator is your head and there is no problem." So I switched to Bell. Problem solved. Mind you, Bell has their own issues, but at least they don't corrupt my goddamn downloads. Chucklefucks. I'll be able to use that. Thanks. Called the IRS to ask when I'd get my tax return back a couple weeks ago, as I needed to pay my student loans, and let's be honest, it's October and I filed my taxes in March. She told me that they'd send it to me once collection agencies were calling me for overdue payments, and it's my own fault for going to college and taking out loans. Yeah, it sucks, but if you have certain types of outstanding debt, child support, tuition, etc., the IRS will withhold any refund due to you. I got you beat on Comcast. Signed up for it and had to pay the first month to the guy that installed it. All I had were $100 bills. Total charge was $30 something. He had no change, so I told him to apply to future charges and had him add to the contract that I paid $100 and had that as credit. Next month got a bill. Called customer service and told them to check my contract as they had already been paid. They said they couldn't find the contract, so I told them great. Cancel my service since there isn't a contract. Guess what? They said they couldn't do that without a charge because I was in a contract. Seriously, I ended up faxing them my copy of the contract and they still refused to credit me. I threw all their crap in the trash and they still send me bills. I purchased an Asus ZenBook UX31 on launch day. Great little ultrabook. Small, sleek, sexy, high-res screen. After having the machine for about 3 weeks, Asus released a BIOS update to fix some touchpad issues. The Asus update utility notified me of the update and offered to download and installed it. I said fine. Utility downloaded the update, ran its little bit of code to force a BIOS update on reboot and rebooted the computer. The BIOS update failed. Asus update had bricked my new $1,300 laptop. So, I called Asus support. Their response? Because I hadn't shipped my laptop to an Asus service center for them to install the update, I had violated my warranty and now had a $1,300 really infuriating paperweight. Here's where the downvotes will come. Thanks be to the FSM for Best Buy and their return policy for Reward Zone Platinum members that allowed me to return the bricked machine to the store, which I exchanged for a MacBook Air. I will never, ever do business with Asus again in my life. Using your laptop voids your warranty, dude. I don't get how computer companies get away with this sort of thing. If you install software, you voided your warranty. If you install RAM, you voided your warranty. If you clean the screen, you better believe you voided your warranty. There's a chain of restaurants in Pacific NW, and a few others scattered around, called Taco Del Mar. After playing racquetball, some friends and I walked there for some burritos. We walked in and the only girl working there was on the phone talking to a friend. We were the only people there, and we walked past her to wait at the beginning of the line. We waited 5 minutes while she just talked and talked. Finally, I looked at my friends and held up 5 fingers, then 4, 3, 2, 1, then said, "Let's go." As we walked past her, I looked her dead in the eye and shouted. We waited 5 minutes and walked out the door. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.